Welcome back to the Liberty Perspective. I'm Joe Marshall. Today I want to continue what I was talking about a couple shows ago that I did regarding global warming, solar panels, the windmills, and all this green economy shit. And I kind of wanted to continue on what I was doing. And if you get a chance to go back and watch that show, I can show you how it ties into like the DEI, ESG, all kinds of how the world socialism is being of DEI, ESG, sustainable development goals, human rights. You know, it's all the same stuff. It's all world socialism that's being pushed through all that stuff. It's being pushed upstream into the contracts by the state. The states are mandating this whole DEI, ESG compliance, which the banks are mandating it, that any company that get these projects, that they're going to be mandated to have all this compliance to it, and then they have to mandate their supply chains becoming compliant too. So they call it pushing that upstream into the economy. And basically what One Health does to the whole of our health care industry, DEI, ESG is doing the same thing to not only our colleges and everybody else in financing, it's doing it to our whole economy. Really, because these big companies that are, prime contractors are being mandated to drink the Kool-Aid on this stuff. So, but then they're mandating it into the supply chain, which makes all mom and pop shops that have any hope at all whatsoever of doing any businesses with getting any of this money. Billions of dollars, right? Tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. And, the average person that's in business doesn't stand a chance to get a dime of this money. It's not designed for that. It's a small handful of companies that are owned by a small handful of people that own each other. And they own the banks that own the governments of the world. So it's a big extortion. The public-private partnerships, it's not capitalism. It's all these solar panels going up, windmills going up, green energy shit going up, that they're shitting all over the place. Has nothing to do with capitalism, nothing to do with free enterprise. It's all centrally planned economy stuff, right down to actually designed to crush what little there is of any free enterprise or actual capitalism left in our society. The free exchange of property owned for property desired in a market-based economy, which means the people freely get to decide what they want and what they don't want, right? A free society, a free economy, free enterprise, that's what happens. The market demands, right? The people demand and the market supplies, basically. But anyways, I wanted to kind of get onto this so I'm not here any longer than I have to be. It's been a while since I posted a show. It's been at least, it's been over a week, close to a week and a half, really. But I'm ready to rock and roll here, I think. I want to get into this here a little bit. You kind of take off from where we were with New York State's scam that they're running on everybody. And New York State's basically, in Hochul and her whole administration are basically just agents, nothing less, nothing more than agents of world socialism. They push the United Nations agenda, whether it's in halt legislation that the corrections officers are all pushing back. All the world socialism of the United Nations is what that halt legislation is. It's alternatives for humane incarceration or something, halt legislation, because they declared solitary confinement to be torture, jail to be torture. But it's the same thing with solar and wind and everything else. Just incorporates the whole Agenda 2030. It's the same world socialism of the United Nations is being pushed with all that green economy too. The same thing. One Health, the same world socialism being pushed in One Health through all of our healthcare system, if you can even call it that. It's a centrally planned system is what it is. It all comes from the same collectivism. And I'm just going to kind of go down through this, how it relates in this climate change, green economy thing. In New York State, they have what they call NYSERDA. Now, this isn't about just New York State. There's some things going on here in New York State that people, it's not just New York. I mean, this is happening all over the place, as you'll see. And if it isn't happening anywhere around you, it will be. If you're not, just be aware. So it's kind of an American thing. It's a global thing, really. They're doing the same thing to everybody in the world, on the whole Western world on this stuff. Anybody who's drinking the Kool-Aid on this world socialism stuff, they're pushing this everywhere. According to NYSERDA, reducing greenhouse gases emissions such as carbon dioxide and methane is essential. Reducing greenhouse gases and emissions such as carbon dioxide and methane is essential to combating climate change and creating cleaner, healthier communities. See, this is kind of where I want to get to here, is that the whole thing, reducing greenhouse gas emissions such as carbon dioxide and methane is essential to combating climate change. So this is the argument that they have, that carbon dioxide, the gas that we exhale, the gas that plants make the oxygen that we need to breathe with, is a pollutant, is something that is going to cause global warming, that's going to destroy everything unless we embrace the communism of a green economy, unless we embrace the communism associated with solar panels and ESG and DEI and the whole net zero shit, right? Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2050, it's all same United Nations World Socialism. The Climate Act requires New York to reduce economy-wide GHG, greenhouse gas emissions, 40% by 2030 and 85% by 2050 from 1990 levels. But who comes up with these numbers? Like, how is greenhouse gas emissions 40%? And if, however they come up with these numbers. And then how do they know that we're at a spot where we need to reduce our carbon dioxide? You know, because I've shown you charts on that last video I did on the solar panels and the solar and the wind corruption. I show you right there that the carbon over the past 500 million years has been shown to be at all-time low levels, to the point where it becomes critical, to the point that, because there has to be so much carbon dioxide in the air for plants to even be able to make oxygen, for photosynthesis to be able to happen. And I've seen where came pretty close to being at those critical levels before there was a little uptick in the past few hundred years, right? A couple hundred years or whatever. New York will generate 100% zero emission electricity by 2040. This is from NYSERDA. That's their New York's organization that they put this through. All these grants, all these freaking subsidies and shit come through NYSERDA in New York. New York will generate 100% zero emissions electricity by 2040. What they don't tell you is a lot of these solar panel places and solar generating places, they're running methane. They're running natural gas in combination with that in order to even make them work. It's nuts. Maybe I'll get a chance to show you one of those later. Yeah. Going to generate 100% zero emission electricity by 2040, which will power the vast majority of buildings and modes of transportation. Electric cars, right? To achieve 85% emissions reduction by 2050. I heard where they're going for a net, not just net zero, but a 0-0. They don't just want net zero. They want 0, 0. It's not communist enough. Net zero isn't communist enough, you know. Future research and development will provide low carbon solutions for hard to electrify sectors and negative emissions technology to capture the sequester carbon. To capture and sequester carbon will provide low carbon solutions. Yeah, they're going to create all these I don't know, carbon credits, shit like that. It's just all redistributive wealth shit. Carbon credits. You know, I don't know. Just say you own a bakery and you have so many ovens that is using so much energy, and everybody gets their allotted amount of energy that they're allowed to use, and you have your allotted energy that you get assigned based on whatever your energy was. They're averaged out over how many years or whatever, and then, but no company, nobody can grow unless they find somebody else's carbon credits that they can buy. So you have to find another company that's going to not use all their carbon credits that they've been allowed to use, or that they're willing to sell some of their carbon credits that they're not going to use to you. So you have to redistribute the wealth. So any bigger companies that are out there, they're going to be looking to the smaller companies saying, listen, we'll pay you so much for your carbon credits. And if you're going to shut down, and you'll have a lot of businesses that'll be just shutting down, renting out their carbon credits for nothing. But any company that wants to grow, you got to find somebody to redistribute your wealth to in order to, if you want to grow your business and be able to use more carbon for your carbon footprint to be bigger. They did the same thing to farmers with milk here. Did the same freaking thing with milk credits and put out quotas. Farmers can't produce any more milk than they've been making, and if you want to produce more milk, then you got to find a farmer that isn't going to produce all as much milk. So then you had a bunch of farmers that were selling their herds, getting the hell out of freaking milk, and just renting their milk credits out to the bigger farmers. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. But anyways, the farmers are forced to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Just as, you know, all these other companies, it's going to force the same. It's going to force the same kind of thing. Family businesses will be few and far in between, just like family farms are few and far in between today. Meanwhile, okay, now we got all this, everything's all based on this whole thing has to have carbon dioxide out of the air, greenhouse gases, right? Well, I wanted to show you this. Meanwhile, back in actual greenhouses, okay, where they're trying to grow plants, in actual greenhouses, they got machines like this that are, guess what? They're producing carbon dioxide. They're making carbon dioxide. They're pumping carbon dioxide into these greenhouses so that the plants can grow. With all this bullshit right here about frickin' the world being the greenhouse gases, which don't do jack shit, the carbon isn't being shown to raise the temperatures at all, because some correlation on some modeling that was done somewhere. There's charts out there that show that there's no correlation whatsoever to the carbon through history in the temperature rising with increased carbon dioxide. The exact opposite has happened throughout history. I got a couple charts in here. Maybe I'll get to show you. But I also went over one of them charts in that last show that I did, too, on this. You can check that out. But, yeah, I'm not making this shit up. But, yeah, greenhouses. So there's a machine right there. You know, if carbon dioxide is so bad for the planet, why do greenhouse growers buy CO2 generators to double the growth? To double the growth, right? This is from 2013. For only pennies a day, any greenhouse owner can produce CO2 to help increase plant yields in their greenhouses. CO2 actually increases plant yields, accelerates regreening, and improves reforestation of the planet. Yeah. I worked in the greenhouse business. I've worked in the nursery landscaping business for 45 years now. And in a lot of the winter times, I take jobs at greenhouses, florists and greenhouses, because that's when their busy season was, you know? Yeah. I worked for some pretty big growers. CO2 actually increases plant yields, accelerates regreening, and improves reforestation of the planet. And while today's atmosphere contains only 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide, CO2 generators can help raise that level to 1,500 parts per million inside the greenhouse, thereby accelerating plant growth and food production. See, right now, the atmosphere, we're right about 400 parts per billion now. Parts per million of carbon. And that's historically, over the past 500 or 600 million years or so, is low, like bottom out low. CO2 increases productivity through improved plant growth and vigor. Some ways in which productivity is increased by CO2 include earlier flowering, get the plants to flower earlier, higher fruit yields, reduced bud absorption, reduces bud abortion roses, improves stem strength and flower size. Growers should regard CO2 as a nutrient. It's a nutrient. Boy, I tell you, a nutrient. Increasing CO2 level to 1,000 parts per million will increase the photosynthesis by about 50% over ambient carbon dioxide levels. And you can see they got the greenhouses. I've worked in some big greenhouses. It looks like some doobies growing right there, don't it? But I mean, they got medical marijuana. That's a huge business now too, right? But you got all these carbon dioxide, CO2. That's what they're doing in actual greenhouses that are supposed to work as actual greenhouses. They're making more CO2 because the ambient levels of CO2 are so low. And I got another couple pictures in here just to kind of drive the point home. How to use a portable CO2 generator for greenhouse enrichment. A homesteader's guide. Boy, I tell you, you got different ways for different sizes. You know, it's just not something you see every day. You know, it depends on your perspective and how you're looking. If you want to scare the shit out of a bunch of people and necessitate the need for hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars get pushed into a handful of companies and a handful of people who own the companies, then you're going to have to start drinking the Kool-Aid that carbon dioxide is a pollutant, not a nutrient. From NASA. Let's see what we got here from NASA. This is from 2016. Carbon dioxide fertilization greening the earth study finds. This isn't just, a lunatic right-wing fringe bunch of, nuts. This is from NASA, okay? This image shows the change in leaf area across the globe from 1982 to 2015. From a quarter to half of the Earth's vegetated lands has shown significant greening over the past 35 years, largely due to rising levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide. Largely due to atmospheric carbon dioxide. According to a new study published in the Journal of Nature, Climate Change in April 25th of 2015. I think, was it 2015 or 2016? 2016. With CO2 levels rising, world drylands are turning green. This is from Yale. Despite warnings that climate change would create widespread desertification. Despite warnings that climate change would create widespread desertification, many drylands are getting greener because of increased CO2 in the air, a trend that recent studies indicate will continue, but scientists warn that this added vegetation may soak up scarce water supplies. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. Plants need water, right? That was from 2024, right? CO2 Coalition. This is, these guys put that charts out the last time in the last show I did. Plants use energy from sunlight to fuse molecule of CO2 to a molecule of water, H2O. to form carbohydrates. One molecule of oxygen is released to the air for each carbon dioxide molecule removed. Biological machinery of plants reworks the carbohydrate polymers into proteins, oils, and other molecular life. Every living creature from the blooming rose to the newborn baby is made of carbon from former atmospheric CO2 molecules. Is made of carbon from former atmospheric CO2 molecules. Long dead plants use CO2 from ancient atmospheres to produce most of the fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas that have transformed the life of most humans. Moving from drudgery and near starvation before the Industrial Revolution to the rising potential for abundance today, the fraction of the beneficial molecule carbon dioxide in the current atmosphere is tiny, about 0.04%. By volume, this level is about 30% larger than pre-industrial levels in the 1800s. NAP's going nuts. This level is about 30% larger than pre-industrial levels in the 1800s, but today's levels are still much smaller than the levels of 20% of, 20 hundredths or 0.2% or more that prevailed over much of the geological history. CO2 levels during the past tens of millions of years have been much closer to starvation levels of 0.015 or 0.15%. When many plants die, than to much higher levels that most plants prefer. CO2 levels during the past tens of millions of years have been much closer to the starvation levels. So starvation level for carbon dioxide is 0.15%. Today we're at 0.04%. But they've been historically as much as 0.2%. Or, right. Let me see what we got here. Okay. We got this chart here that shows the global temperatures change as measured by satellite 1995 to 2015. NASA satellite data for the temperatures of the Earth's lower atmosphere for the 20-year period of 95 to 2014. Monthly global temperatures is shown relative to 1981 to 2010. Base period average. Despite month-to-month volatility, there has been little or zero global warming during this period. For more, see the appendix. So since 1996 to 2014 to 2015. It started up in here. There's been little to none. Little to none. Let me see something here. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. 2011 to 2016. Let me see. This is the one I wanted to find here. This goes back to 600 million years. This chart here. This is today. This is, and you can see this is the carbon dioxide levels on Earth from 600 million years. CO concentration parts per million. Okay, so they're starting back here 600. It went up 500 million years ago, and then they correlated these with whether we had the temperatures, but this is just the CO2 levels over history. And you can see where we are today. Okay, you can see where we are today compared to where the Earth has been. We've bottomed out a couple times, but historically speaking, we're at low levels. This is that greening of the earth happening here that we just saw from the NASA map. Just wanted to show you that one chart with the CO2 over a historical period of time. Now there's a better map another better chart in the last video that I did on this. There's a couple videos ago. But it shows it in correlation with past ice ages and stuff. So it's kind of cool. From the same people, from the same CO2 coalition. Now you get a lot of haters out there, a lot of Kool-Aid drinkers, a lot of fact checkers and all that shit. They can't stand any of this. And this guy that puts this stuff together, he's the guy who was I don't know, he was one of those Greenpeace. I think he was one of those Greenpeace guys, So he's still kind of he says a lot of weird shit, but like he's saying that the industrial age saved the planet from the CO2 level, dying out and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I go that far, but science is what the science is, right? And I wanted to get into this whole greening thing and get that carbon dioxide thing. Just kind of, they're basing the whole argument and the need for all these solar panels and all these windmills and all this green energy stuff on the fact that we got to lower carbon dioxide. That's the meat of their argument. I lay it right out there. Loss of farmland. We got all these things that we need to take into consideration when we're going forward on these things. And the loss of farmland is one of the bigger ones, especially, around here where we are. We got solar panels going up. We got windmills going up. Giant windmills coming. Giant. I'll show you. This is one of the things that they want, just to give you an idea how big these freaking things are. See the Statue of Liberty, the ones that they're putting around here, they're the biggest ones right there. Look at the size of comparison. Freaking colossal. It's nuts. But they're eating up a lot of farmland. Is solar development in New York eating up critical farmland? Again, it's not just about New York, but we'll get to it. One of the counties densest with prime farmland, Monroe County, which is by Rochester, also has the greatest installed solar capacity in upstate New York with 1,842 projects. This is back in 22. They had 1,842 projects going on then, just in that county, producing a capacity of 148.5 megawatts, according to data from the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. In downstate New York, Long Island's Suffolk County appears to contain the most prime farmland and has the greatest installed solar capacity in the state at 654.2 megawatts across more than 44,000 projects. You don't think they're eating up farmland? You want to know why Bill Gates is eating and buying farmland? I'll show you that too. Farmland is typically perfect for solar projects from the perspective of a developer, since it is flat, penetrable ground that's usually situated in a rural area away from large numbers of people who might oppose the project. Yeah. There ain't many people out here to start with, let alone having a lot of people to oppose the project, right? There ain't a lot of people. The population concentration is down. We're easy to step on. Especially when you got a lot of farmers that are freaking starving, or they're not starving. They got so much. They're government money. They're government subsidies. And they can't exist without government subsidies. So when they get projects coming around here with solar panels and windmills and they're getting all kinds of government subsidies, what do you think they're going to do? Ooh, more government subsidies. Ooh. I mean, some of these farms around here have 2, 3, I'm hearing anyways, 2, 3, that's up people that work for them full time that do nothing but write grants. That's not what farmers used to be, just saying. Yeah, I'll get into some of that a little bit more here in a minute. Around a year and a half ago, Case said that he and his associates carried out an analysis of 40 projects that were most advanced in the permitting process at the time in the state, and found that around 75% of them were sited on farmland. So at least 75% of these projects are on farmland. Since the economics favor that strategy, yeah. There's reasons why it favors that strategy. There's a couple of them. One, farmland rent, you're getting $100 to $200 an acre, maybe $250 an acre if you've got primo land, and you've got a couple big farmers that are leasing it on 5 or multiple year contracts. I think there's no question that unless something changes dramatically in terms of economic or policy incentives, it's going to go on farmland. They're going to go on farmland, he said, of solar facilities. Despite the pains taken by the state to prevent the loss of farmland, bullshit. The fact remains that New York has highly ambitious goals to meet a tight deadline, with Governor Kathy Hochul announcing in April that the state will need at least 10 gigawatts of distributed solar by 2030, which is around 6 more than it currently has. And this was put out in 2022, just a couple 3 years ago. So they've got however many solar panels we had, they need which is around 6 more than it currently needs. So it needs 6 times more than what it already has. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, the overall capacity weighted average for the direct land use per megawatt hour is 7.3 acres. Now, some of the different numbers. How much land does it take to run one of these? How many megawatts or gigawatts, or what the hell you call them, megawatts, are we getting per acre with these solar panels, right? They're saying here's 7.3 acres. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, whatever, are they going to be objective? The overall capacity weighted average for direct land use per megawatt is 7.3 acres, so 10 gigawatts would require around 73,000 more acres. 73,000 more acres of land. Assuming every acre of that were actively farmed prior to the installation of panels, that's around 1% of the total active farmland in New York State. They're going to need at least 1% of the farmland in New York State to get up to what she says she wants. Hochul. The mere 0.05 to 1% of land requirement argument seems to be the universal thought. Seems to be universal throughout most all articles, writings on behalf of the centralized green socialist, centralized world socialist narrative, which is all coming out of this whole Agenda 2030 shit. They're out there saying 1% of New York is going to take 1% of New York, and in a lot of these different writings, you say, "Well, it's only going to take 1% of the land, you know. It's only going to take 1% of the farmland, or 1% of this, or 1% of that. Ain't no biggie." Right. So it's a consistent number that you see through a lot of this shit. I just was pointing that out. Another thing from NYSERDA here. Solar guidebook for local governments. Up here they're saying 7.3. Right here they're saying 7.3 acres per megawatt, right? Down here, New York State is saying that ground-mounted solar is of keen interest to the communities and local governments due to its associated and or perceived land use related impacts. Ground-mounted solar installations typically occupy 4 to 8 acres per megawatt. So up here is 7.3. New York State's telling you it's 4 to 8, so it might only be 4 acres. 4 acres per megawatt. 4 to 8. Right? Great Plains Institute. A conservative estimate for the footprint of solar development is that it takes 10 acres to produce 1 megawatt. So we got everywhere from freaking 4 acres to 10 acres. Which is it, right? And it's not just in New York. Insight. As solar capacity grows, some of America's most productive farmland is at risk. This is from 2024. A couple things in this article here. This is this article here. According to Duttler's solar lease, this guy's name was Duttler, as a farmer. Reviewed by Reuters, Dunn's Bridge said it would use commercially reasonable efforts to minimize any damage and disturbance of growing crops and cropland caused by its construction activities. Outside the project site, and not remove topsoil from the property itself. So when they made the deal with this farmer guy, Duttlinger's lease, okay, he owned this property. He made a lease. They promised not to remove any topsoil from his property, and to minimize any damage to the disturbance of growing crops and croplands caused by its construction activities. Still, subcontractors graded Duttlinger's field to assist in the building of roads and installation of posts and panels. He said, despite his warnings that it could make the land more vulnerable to erosion. Crews reshape and the landscape. Spread fine sand across large stretches of rich topsoil, Duttlinger said. When Reuters visited his farm last year and this spring, much of the land beneath the panels was covered in a yellow-brown sand with no new plants grew at all. So they're spreading this sand all over everything. Go underneath these things. The farmer said, I'll never be able to grow anything in that field again. They're telling these guys, well, you'll be able to go right back to farming. I mean, as a matter of fact, well, you'll be able to farm around these things, under these things, or whatever, right? About 1/3 of his approximately 1,200-acre farm, where his family grows corn, soybeans, and alfalfa for cattle, has been leased. The Dunsbridge Solar Project is a subsidiary of Next Era Energy, one of the biggest companies in the world. Of course, they get some of the most funding and subsidies ever of anywhere in the world under what they call mega deals. I think you have to have $75 million or $100 million in subsidies before you even qualify for a mega deal list, and Next Era is at the top of that list. Yeah. Next Era Energy Resources, the world's largest generator of renewable energy from wind and solar. Duttlinger said that when he approached Next Era about the damage to his land, the company said that it would review any remedial work needed at the end of its contract in 2073. In other words, go after yourself. Oh, we'll work with you, man. We're here for you, man, right? We're going to work with you. Yeah, go after yourself till 2073. Next Era declined to comment on the matter. The solar industry is pushing into the U.S. Midwest, drawn by cheaper land rents, access to electric transmission, and a wealth of federal and state incentives. None of this shit would be able to exist. That's my point, too. That none of this shit would be able to exist without government subsidies. None of it. That's the whole thing. It doesn't exist without government subsidies. Half these businesses, if the government money was to dry up, 90% of these businesses would just disappear. Parasites. I don't know. Parasites. Carcass stops giving blood, man. They jump ship, right? I don't know. The region is also has what solar needs: wide open fields. A renewable energy boom risks damaging some of America's richest soils in key farming states like Indiana. According to Reuters' analysis of federal, state, and local data, hundreds of pages of court records and interviews with more than 100 energy and soil scientists agricultural economists, farmers, and farmland owners, and local, state, and federal lawmakers. For landowners, like Duttlinger, the promise of profits is appealing. Here's the sick part. The promise of profits is appealing. Solar leases in Indiana and surrounding states can offer $900 to $1,500 an acre per year in land rents. Like I was telling you before, I don't know what they're getting out in the Midwest. They might be getting a little bit more, $300 an acre or something. I don't know. Around here, 200, 250. If you're getting $300 an acre, I mean, that's real high for tillable. I've got a few acres of tillable here that I lease out. I think I'm getting like $75 an acre for tillable. I'm getting $75 an acre for tillable. But I just got this in the mail not too long ago. Oh yeah, solar panels they want to develop. And it says on there, it says right there, let's talk. Yeah. Let's talk. Sorry. Anyways, I kind of wanted to show you this here too. What they're doing is, like I said, I'm getting $75 an acre for my tillable, right? And they sent me this. They sent me this right in here. I'll see if you can see that. Well, they're promising me $1,500 an acre for the first year, and then after 5 years altogether, like $25,000, right? $25,000 for yeah. After 35 years. After 35 years. Can you see that at the bottom? Can you see that? Like $900,000 for 35 years or some shit. I'm never going to be able to make that money if I was farming, if I was growing food for my cattle, if I was growing food for my... You can't do it. So this is all government money coming in here, making it so that farmers almost can't turn the money down. Almost can't turn the money down. It's not capitalism. Capitalism wouldn't do that. You know, it's government money. It's centrally planned economy doing this shit. The socialism that they promised us that was supposed to save us from the urban sprawl. Now we got these frickin' solar panels and everything being shit over an industrial sprawl of this shit, right? But this is what they're doing. The promise of profits is appealing. Solar leases in Indiana and surrounding states can offer $900 to $1,500 an acre per year in land rents, with annual rate increases, according to Reuters review of solar leases and interviews with four solar project developers. In comparison, farmland rent and top corn, soybean produced in Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa average about $250 an acre, and they averaged about $251 per acre. About USDA data shows. So I wasn't too far off on my numbers. Farmland Partners Incorporated, a publicly traded farmland real estate investment trust, has leased about 9,000 acres nationwide to solar firms. Much of that ground is highly productive, said Executive Chairman Paul Pittman. Do I think it's best use for that land? Probably not. But our investors would kill us if we didn't pursue this opportunity. Right. So the bottom line is when the government comes in here and throws all this money at you, don't be stupid and not take it, right? And if they think a little bit ahead on these things and what's actually going on, I wouldn't want I would never want this shit on my land. No matter what, you know? You can't undo it. You can't undo acres and acres of solar farm without extreme difficulty in cleaning it up. To try to put it back to farming, like you said, a lot of these things, the way they're building them, you'll never be able to farm that land again. It's gone. And the other thing is that they're promising, too, is that they're promising these frickin' things will last 25 years. They give me a 35-year payout schedule on there for 900 grand, right? Well, they're promising that they're going to last 25 years, 35 years. They ain't lasting that long. I'll get into that, too. It's the other way they're bullshitting everybody on this. Yeah. Developers also argue that in the Midwest, where more than 1/3 of the U.S. corn crop is used for ethanol production, subsidies argue against subsidies, crash subsidies, interest, right? Yeah. Where more than 1/3 of the U.S. corn crop is used for ethanol production, solar energy is key for powering future electric vehicles. So if you're growing corn and that ethanol, that green ethanol, all you're doing is it's more important that that's why we're making electric cars, man. We don't need to subsidize this ethanol anymore because all that's doing is encouraging fossil fuel use. We need to decarbonize. We need solar panels, man, so that electric cars can be plugged into the solar energy. Solar development comes amid increasing competition for land. Oh, there it is. Developers also argue that in the Midwest, where more than 1/3 of the U.S. corn crop is used for ethanol production, solar energy is key for producing future electric vehicles. You see what I'm saying? Solar development comes amid increasing competition for land. In 2023, there were 76.2 million, or nearly 8% fewer acres in farms than in 1987. USDA data shows as farmland is converted for residential, commercial, and industrial use. That was a big selling point for all these central planning committees that are everywhere in our country now. I mean, 20 years ago, there wasn't a central plan steering committee or a central steering committee or a sustainable development steering committee anywhere until after the 1990s and early 2000s they were implemented. Yeah. And they put all these unelected officials on all these steering committees that mandated all these different regulations and stuff that we have a plan, we have a central plan. But everybody in charge of the plan were stakeholders that might have one or two elected officials on it with other stakeholders. And these people made decisions on what was going to be going forward and what was going to be allowed in the circles within which the legislators and elected officials would have to operate. So now you've got unelected steering committees, central planning committees, setting the standards within which, the limits within which our representatives are able to work, and our republic is destroyed. And that they use this whole urban sprawl thing as a reason to get conservation easements where the government could buy the land and nobody would be able to. They bought up all the development rights of the property. They separated the development rights from property. So if you own a farm and the state would come in, or some NGO like Finger Lakes Land Trust or some other bullshit company, organization could come in there, an NGO or another government agency, whatever, even Ducks Unlimited or whatever, doesn't matter. Something similar. They come in with these conservation easements and they buy the development rights. But then they're owned by governments or subsidies of governments. And those development rights are forever gone from the body of the people. Where in America, our right to property in fee simple is what separated us from everybody else in the world. Like the governments own the properties, and people are just have life use or whatever. We own the property. We own our own property. But now, you have, different, like out in Colorado, you buy a piece of land in Colorado, you've got mining areas and stuff where people own mineral rights, water rights, and the underground rights and stuff. But you buy a piece of land, you probably own just the surface. That's all you own. So the land, the different aspects of what your property rights have are divided up. But the only thing separating them are market forces. You can buy them all back. Once the government has hold of the development rights in these different areas, and you got huge swaths of farms selling thousands, tens of thousands of acres at a time back to these government subsidies and government agencies, where they're just soaking all these development rights from the body of the people, and the government's taking control of them. And they're forever gone from the body of the people. You ain't buying them back. You ain't getting them back. I guess there's a way you can buy them back if you pay double in your lifetime, but the next person who buys your property, it's impossible to get it back. They're gone. They're gone. So you're selling out your children and your grandchildren doing that shit, and they're running all these farmers that are selling all their development rights to all these government subsidies and agencies as heroes. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Selling out their children and grandchildren and their posterity in perpetuity. It's just a scam. One scam leads to another scam leads to another scam, and it's just all part of the same freaking world socialist scam, all of it. And eradication and erosion of property rights, it's all right. It's the main purpose of all of this. Yeah. In response to Reuters findings, USDA said that the urban sprawl and development are currently bigger contributors to farmland loss and solar, citing reports from the Department of Energy agency-funded research. Yeah, so the government's going to point to government-funded research as a reason to push their agenda. Right. Researchers at the American Farmland Trust, a non-profit farmland protection organization, which champions what it calls smart solar, forecast last year that 83% of new solar energy development in the U.S. will be on farm and ranch land. Unless current government policies change, nearly half would be on the nation's best land for producing food, fiber, and other crops, they warned. 5 renewable developers and solar energy firms reviewed by Reuters counter that the industry's use of farmland is too small to impact domestic food production overall and should be balanced with the need to decarbonize the U.S. energy market in the face of climate change. Climate change is the narrative. Centralized narrative that can't be overturned by anybody but the central planners. The need to decarbonize. Now, why do we have the need to decarbonize? Because carbon dioxide is a pollutant, not a nutrient, even though it's actually a nutrient. All right. Just trying to show you some of the bullshit. I'm just trying to put the bullshit out there so that you can actually see the bullshit for the bullshit that it is. Doral Renewables, the developer behind a $1.5 billion mammoth solar project in Pulaski and Stark counties, says does not consider corn or soybean yield in its siting decisions. So they don't even consider, the farm input. The crop input. Instead, the company looks at land topography, zoning, and closeness to electrical grid or substation, which they do, and tries to avoid wooded areas, ditches, and environmentally sensitive areas. Shifting corn acres for solar, I don't see it as replacing something that is vital to our society, Cohen said. solar can make farmland more productive from an economic perspective. So it's these green bastards in their public-private partnership fascism money that are the ones that are shutting our farmland down for a freaking pocket full of freaking money. And it has nothing to do with capitalism. It has nothing to do with free enterprise or free markets. It's got everything to do with the public-private partnership, centrally planned fascism of these government and colossal freaking corporate partnerships. That's doing this. And of course, they're speaking in terms of capitalism, so that you just hear this by they're a bunch of greedy capitalists, man. No. Which shits on the whole of free enterprise, which shits on your ability to conduct any type of business whatsoever in exchange of free exchange of property owned for property desired, which is free enterprise, which is a free market, which is the only earthly way in which you can acquire the prosperity in which you could pursue an independent happiness. So it all falls apart without the private property. It all falls apart without the capitalism. It all falls apart without the free enterprise and free markets. But they're going to speak here in terms. Solar can make farmland more productive from an economic perspective. Indiana farmer Norm Welker said that he got a better deal leasing 60% of his farmland to Mammoth than he would have got growing corn, with prices dipping to 3-year lows. Of course, the other thing is that who controls the prices of the markets on these commodities, on these, grains? The crops that people are growing. In New York State, milk farmers can't sell milk to the market. They can only sell it to New York State Milk Control. I don't know how much control the government has on the prices of all this other stuff, but basically the government sets the prices on this shit. And how much you can grow of this or how much of you can grow of that, unless you don't want to get any government subsidies. And of course, you're done, right? We've got mounds of corn. We're below the cost of production right now, and if you're renting land to grow corn, you're losing money. This way, my economic circumstances are very good. Well, if you're looking at it from a bottom line thing, and you're a farmer, well, and you get out of farming, and you throw your whole farm under the bus, the ability to do any farming whatsoever into the future for whatever land you decide to lease for these frickin' solar panels or windmills or whatever. You better look into it. That's all I'm saying is you better look into it, because it ain't all sunshine, rainbows, and ribbons, you know what I mean? Solar installation hastens loss in Virginia farmland, so it's not just in New York. That's what I'm getting at. According to the Virginia Solar Initiative, a statewide survey released in April by University of Virginia's Weldon Cooper Center and the Virginia Department of Energy, 51 local governmental authorities have been approached for permission to erect large-scale solar installations in their jurisdictions. And 44 have already approved such applications. The latest was the Charlotte County Board Supervisors' approval in July of a conditional use permit to allow a gigantic 877 megawatt solar installation to be erected on 21,000 acres. 21,000 acres, which will be one of the largest such facilities east of the Mississippi River. There goes a farm, dude. 21,000 acres. Yeah. Yeah. Michael Schellenberger. No, geez. But Michael Schellenberger, author of Apocalypse Never, told the Thomas Jefferson Institute Virginia's Energy Consumer Conference last October that solar panels are cheaper now due to multi-billion-dollar subsidies by Chinese government. Yeah, the solar panels are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. A lot of the original, some of the original solar farms, they can call them, but they're not farms. These solar factories, these solar produced, I don't know. But they're going bankrupt now because of the systems that they implemented. And solar panels are so much cheaper now. They're saying the reasons why they're going bankrupt is because solar panels are so cheap now. Farmers are putting them up as fencing because they're cheaper than putting fences in compared to what they were 10 years ago or whatever, right? I don't know. But anyways, but you don't hear anything happen where any of these are giving some of the money back. That it's because they're able to do it cheaper because the solar panels are so much cheaper now. They're not giving money back to the states or the governments that they got all these subsidies from, are they? I don't see them lining up to do that. But yeah. So now they're cheaper due to multi-billion-dollar subsidies by Chinese government in which dirty coal and forced labor are produced these. And there was even some of these that were caught up in some kind of prison camp labor that was making them too. They held up a bunch of them until they did a big investigations into it and everything is all caught up. Yeah. And Elon Musk's Solar City was caught up in that one too. And we'll get into that a little bit here in a minute. He also noted that there's no plan to deal with huge amounts of hazardous waste from obsolete solar panels once they've reached the end of life to their 15 to 25 year lifespan. Their 15 to 25 year lifespan, right? They're saying I'm getting 25 to 35. They're giving me, right? Now we're down to 15 to 25. That means that some solar farms erected in Virginia in 2021 will start becoming hazardous waste sites in 2036, even before Virginia Clean Economy Act's carbon-free mandates kick in. They're toxic. They're already toxic. They're hazardous waste. They're already hazardous waste sites. Once you deal with the cost of the waste, electricity from solar ends up being 4 times higher than they had anticipated. Schellenberger, yeah, even with the price of freaking solar panels going down, right? Schellenberger, Time Magazine's 2008 hero of the environment, pointed out, changed my mind about renewables when I understood that they require significantly more land, he added. Princeton University just confirmed about 300 times more land on average to generate the same amount of electricity from a wind farm or solar farm as from natural gas or nuclear power plant. They take 300 times more land than nuclear or fossil fuels. At least, right? They're promising profits to farmers far beyond what farming could possibly do. We kind of got into this a little bit already. I got this article here from 2023. This article right here. Have you ever wondered what solar farm income per acre, what a solar farm's income is per acre? With a specific calculator, you can assess your profit margins, the total cost you will incur, and ultimately how much money you will make annually. Some people lease their land as a solar farm as an alternative to selling or farming because it can provide consistent income for up to 50 years. 50 years now. This complete guide focuses on the details of solar farming. How to use solar farm income per acre calculator to measure your cost and potential profit margins and whether or not you can install one on your land. There are several factors to consider when determining the profit margin of an acre of a solar plant. But There are several factors to consider when determining the profit margin of an acre of a solar plant, but generally speaking, you can earn anything between $21,250 to $42,500 per acre each year. What? You can earn anything between $21,250 to $42,500 a year per acre. I'm getting 75 when I rent out my farmland. I got shit dirt here. I mean, it grows stuff, but it grows grass. It's just, it's heavy clay. It's heavier, you know. It's pretty heavy. Farmers can work it, but I get something out of it. But it sure as shit ain't no $2,500 a year. $42,500 a year. Sorry. Let me see. Okay, for homeowners, all right. Good news, New Yorkers. Good news, New Yorkers. This comes from New York, I think. Good news, New Yorkers. The Empire State has some of the best solar incentives in the country. New York's ambitious renewables portfolio standard has generated many solar incentives, such as New York State's initiative, the REV initiative, and the utility net metering programs. Aside from all these initiatives, New York has some of the best tax credits and exemptions making solar an attractive investment. So if it wasn't for these subsidies, there wouldn't be a solar freaking anything here. None. Or pretty much none. With New York's incredible solar rebates and incentives, it's no surprise that the solar industry in the Empire State has grown so rapidly. There's no demand for this shit. It's being forced down our throat. To the benefit of a handful of people. In government, to the benefit of government, where our rights and liberties are being squashed. To the benefit of a small handful of people. In both control and in the money-making schemes. Money's secondary to the power. Money is money. But if you have the power, money's nothing. Because with the power, you get to pick and choose who has the money. Who gets the money? You know? How long does it take to earn back your initial investment in solar panels? A solar payback period is the amount of time it takes for property owners who install solar panels to recover their initial investments through electricity savings. Well, so if you install your own on your own private house, you're not going to get paid any money, but what you'll do is you'll save money on your electric bill, allegedly. In New York, the average solar payback period is 8.8 years. So in other words, it's going to take 8.8 years before you get the money back that you made in the investment in the solar panel. Now, but what's the taxpayer get out of it? What's the people get out of it, right? Because it's all being subsidized. 30-40% of it's being subsidized anyways. Okay, now that 8.8 years has since been updated to 8.29 years here. Okay, solar loans and solar lease PPAs are available to help finance a solar energy system. So you got all kinds of subsidies, man. All kinds, right? You're stupid not to take the government money, man. Stupid. Sell your kids out. Sell your freaking, just, Throw your republic under the bus. Throw everything at you. Just take the money, man. All right. New York solar panels, the complete guide in 2024. How much do solar panels cost in New York? Solar panels will save you a lot of money. Will save you a lot of money over time, but the upfront costs aren't cheap. The average New York homeowner needs a 11.79 kilowatt solar panel system to cover their electricity needs, which comes out to about $33,292 before incentives. Price ranges from $28,298 to $38,286, but after a federal tax credit, that drops by 30%. And New York has some really great incentives, local incentives as well. Boy, they just can't promise you enough money, man. They can't give away enough money with this shit. While this may sound high, it will pay off. It will pay off in New York. That's why over 60,000 New York homeowners have used Energy Sage to receive and compare quotes for solar installations. You can expect to earn back your initial solar investment through electricity savings in about 8.29 years, while most systems last at least 25 years. There's the 25-year shit again. It's going to last 25 years. Like I said, remember I showed you here, they gave me a pay schedule 35 years out. Oh, yeah. You'll often see this number referenced to as your solar payback period. Okay? Be advised that the whole green economy, public-private partnerships are lying to you. That's me. Yeah, it's fucking shit. Sorry about my language. How long do these green windmills and solar panels really last? Right? Dig into this a little bit. U.S. solar farms are aging. Is it time to begin repowering? The first and second generations of U.S. solar farms are approaching something resembling resembling something, a midlife crisis. This is from 2023, okay? Many of the older inverters haven't lived up to their expected lifespans, with most beginning to fail around 10 to 15-year mark. According to Levent Gunn, CEO of Amped, a solar power conversion product manufacturer, to make matters more challenging, most of the manufacturers of these inverters, the companies that were supposed to maintain them and guarantee their performance over time, have gone out of business. Yeah, because these companies don't exist without government money. Bunch of parasites. They don't know how to work on a competition. They're not in competition with people. The only thing they're in competition with people is all the people with their hands out for the government frickin' money. They don't know how to run a business. They don't give a shit about the business. They just want the money. Give a shit about the business. These projects were designed for 20 to 25-year lifespan, and it's well-known fact that the first and second generation inverters have a 15-year average lifespan. Yeah. Says, like it or not, he said, the market is going to have to repair a lot of inverters over the next 10 years. Experts at the trail end of the supply chain say it could be especially difficult to dispose of the panels that may be removed and replaced during these inverter-inspired upgrades. Yeah, they don't know how to get rid of them. Demand for refurbished panels, and therefore the price Orban can command, has dropped. Price is just, the floor is falling through on what the value of these used solar panels are that may be removed and replaced during these inverter-inspired upgrades. Demand, has dropped, and the cost of breaking panels into their component parts is greater than the value of the materials they contain. So you go to a regular scrapyard, they break things down into the different metals. Well, the cost of breaking that down is more than you're actually going to get out of it. So keeping millions of solar panels, many of which still have useful life left in them, from ending up in landfills will likely require a change in policy. You know? Canadian station reports falsification scheme at turbine plant. Just another scam. A radio station in Quebec is reporting that the top executives at a manufacturing plant in Canada, where the turbine blades for windmills, obviously, have been manufactured for vineyard wind, ordered workers to falsify the data, which offers new insight into why many have gone wrong, into what may have gone wrong earlier this summer when a blade fractured off the vineyard coast. So, in other words, I mean, they're having issues, and just get these things out there, man, whatever it takes, right? A person who gives a shit about his business and wants his business to be here for a long time would never do that. Would never do that. Farmland be damned. New York will cover upstate with solar. Now, this is from 2022. Okay. 2020 right there. Yeah, sorry. Because I can get it for you. But anyways, New York's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, the Climate Act, establishes a net zero target, 85% reduction and 15% offset of emissions by 2050. My analysis of the Climate Act shows that the ambitions for a zero emissions economy outstrip available renewable technologies, such that the transition to an electrical system relying on wind and solar will do more harm than good. Okay, the more you read, the more issues come up. The fact that ORS, the Office of Renewable Energy, the fact that ORS can just do whatever it wants despite concerns of the locals. Yeah, New York's has got it set up, and I kind of went over this in that other video I did on the same subject, where they've passed legislation that steps on any local pushback against any local opposition. They've made it so, towns, boards, local legislations, even counties don't have nothing to do with this. They can't stop it. Another step on another squashing of our republic right there. Yeah, bottom line is that ORS overruled towns of Elba and Oakfield zoning ordinances that were unreasonably burdensome for the developer, quote unquote, unreasonably burdensome. The draft scoping plan had 3 scenarios for future solar. The total solar resource projected between 41,420 and 43,432 megawatts in 2040. There is a target of 10,000 megawatts of distributed solar. So for an upper bound, assume that utility scale solar resources of at least 31,420 megawatts will be needed by 2040. That equates to solar sprawl covering 164,961 acres and the loss of a large number of farmers. So basically where we're going and what New York says she wants to do, according to this, Hochul, that equates to solar sprawl. Solar sprawl, I love it. It's not urban sprawl or urban sprawl. That equates to solar sprawl covering 164,961 acres and the loss of a large number of farms. Areas under the panel arrays would be taken out of agricultural production during the operational life of the project estimated to be a maximum of 30 years. The operational life of the project is estimated to be a maximum of 30 years. There they are with the 30-year mark thing again. And we know by other people are having problem was that the area panels would be taken out of agricultural production. It's going to be for more than frickin' 30 years. That one guy said he'll never be able to grow anything on that property now. Clip map to enlarge and see how much active agriculture area will be replaced by solar farm. Typical of these, New York State is financing to cover hid upstate under dark glass. I don't know, that didn't work. But anyways, note that this writer also stated that there is plenty of land available that is not on prime farmland that can be used for solar development. FYI, though he's got an argument against prime farmland, he's still got progressive arguments for the taking of other land. But that's where we are. We got these people that are fighting back on different things, and we think they're going to be heroes. They think that they're out there fighting for our freedom and our liberty and our republic. And no, they're drinking Kool-Aid with that limited spectrum of debate. Keeps popping up. Medical freedom movement, type limited spectrum of debate. Same shit's going on here too. And all these articles that I'm reading that are showing these things, they've got other parts and aspects in these articles or other articles that they've written that are pushing this shit. So it's just like even when you're reading white papers and this and that and the other thing. If you read the white paper and you go down to the conclusion, and in the body and the abstract and everything else, they're showing everybody how much Kool-Aid they're drinking to get the funding they got. Okay, so whatever you're going to, and the data, if you're looking at the data, you got to kind of dismiss the whole conclusion on a lot of them white papers because it's all bullshit. Just to show, then the data that's actually in the paper is what you're looking for. It's nuts. 5 reasons New York should not embrace solar energy. The guy put out an article here. If you want to read it, you can check this out. You can check that out more. Powering New York. This is from 2015. What would it take to power the Big Apple for a year with each individual energy source? Now, this is from 10 years ago, but it's just 10 years ago. We've crunched the numbers for oil and liquefied natural gas, solar, wind, and hydro. Then we visualized what is needed for each to be hypothetically feasible as the city's only source of energy. So you're looking to see what was going to take to power the Big Apple. Basically, you would need 12.8 square kilometers of solar panels, enough to cover a good chunk of New Jersey, to power the Big Apple back in those 10 years ago. Okay. 9 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah. The average distance you can see into the horizon is 5 kilometers. So, yeah, the average, so you're going to need 12.8 kilometers squared. And the farthest you can usually see is 5 kilometers, which means that one would be able to see solar panels as far as the eye can see, probably in all directions. And that just the average use, not times of peak demand. Another interesting example of power in New York City, the hydroelectric base on an average power needs would mean 14 Hoover dams to power New York City. Each would produce about 4.2 billion kilowatt hours per year in energy. Using wind power, about half of Long Island would need to be converted to the world's biggest wind farm to power New York City. So, they say, to power New York City, you would need to cover at least a good chunk of New Jersey with solar panels, while Elon Musk is telling us that we need only to cover about 1/10 of Rhode Island to power the whole country. This is where I'm getting. 10 years ago, they were telling us we had to cover a good chunk of New Jersey. And just last year, Elon Musk is saying that, I don't know. Echoing the information shown in the Solar City video, Tesla CEO Elon Musk believes that not only is it theoretically possible to power the entire country, but that his vision is achievable with less land than we think. He reminded more than 30 state governors at a National Governors Association meeting how much real estate is needed to make sure America can run completely on solar energy. If you wanted to power the United States with solar panels, it would take a fairly small corner of Nevada or Texas or Utah, he explained. You can only need 100 miles by 100 miles solar panels to power the entire United States. 100 miles by 100 miles, 100 square miles. The batteries you would need to store the energy so that you have 24/7 power is another square mile. Just 101 square miles, or as Elon says, a little square on the U.S. map. To put this into perspective, that's about 10% of the 1,045 square mile area of Rhode Island. To power the whole country, Elon Musk says. Well, Elon Musk has said a lot. They got this thing here. It's called Solar City. Elon Musk, Tesla. That's probably one of the biggest money holes. It's as big a money hole that's ever existed. Elon Musk. Regarding Tesla's Solar City in Buffalo, subsidy tracker. I went to a subsidy tracker. You can go on here and you can find out all these companies that are. Can't really see. It just says good jobs first here. It says subsidy tracker. Okay, subsidy tracker, individual entity, and then we go to the parent company, go to Tesla. Okay, I go down through here. I got some of this stuff highlighted out here. From back in 2014. Okay, so back in 2014 when they got a subsidy of $750 million. It was pretty much wound up being close to $1 billion. All right. Type of subsidy, which is a mega deal. Okay, I'm going to get into this mega deal a little bit more here in a minute. Let me see. Get into this mega deal here a little bit more in a minute. But the $750 million subsidy packages include $350 million in cash from New York State and $400 million in loans that the state will the state will cover through grants if the company creates the required number of jobs. In addition to the $750 million in public funding, the company will receive a break on property taxes and will be able to participate in startup New York programs. Boy, you can't give them enough money. They can't give the money away fast enough. The company promised to create 1,500 direct jobs at the facility. Additional 1,500 jobs were supposed to be created through a local supply chain. So they're promising 3,000 new jobs because of this government subsidies. Because Tesla's going to come in here and do this, but we can't exist without government money. Investment is the amount the company will spend to build the facility over the next decade. Yeah, right. So how'd that pan out? How'd that work out, right? Less than a quarter of the plant's workforce is engaged in solar-related. This is in 2023. Okay, this is just 10 years later, 9 years later. No. Right. Yeah. From 2014 to 2023. Less than a quarter of the plant's workforce is engaged in solar-related manufacturing, and work stopped completely half of last year. As a result, there's been none of the promised spin-off development. There has been none of the promised spin-off development. The Tesla plant has not generated any of the anticipated spin-off development. Vast expanses of land around the Tesla plant remain fallow. The state has amended its contract with Tesla no fewer than a dozen times over the years, reducing the number of required manufacturing jobs and loosening the definition of what constitutes that work. They're just trying to get something out of the money that they put into this, right, at this point. They're just trying to get something. All these frickin' politicians. Solar City had never been profitable. Never. In 2015 alone, it lost $710 million. Tesla's unwillingness to buy solar components from Panasonic, it refused to buy solar panels from Panasonic, okay, contributed to the company's pulling out of Buffalo plant in 2020. I think they're literally in the same freaking building. And he bought Chinese shit instead. Tesla's unwillingness to buy solar components from Panasonic contributed to the company's pulling out of the Buffalo plant in 2020. That March, Panasonic informed the U.S. Department of Labor it was leaving because, quote, the demand for Panasonic solar cells has decreased due to Tesla and other companies importing solar cells from China. Yeah. Trump's man. Panasonic's 400 jobs were shipped off to Malaysia. In the process, the United States lost one of its only manufacturers of solar cells. Tesla buying from Panasonic would have made it more worthwhile for them to stay, said Richenberg. Stout confirmed that Tesla struggled to use Panasonic solar cells. Eventually, Tesla just stopped using the solar cells that were being made in their own building because they couldn't figure it out. Well, the guy's a freaking genius, right? But he couldn't figure that one out. His solar panels being made right in the same building. He's getting them from China instead. So you've got government-funded program, government-funded project, using government-funded monies and subsidies to put an American solar panel company out of business. I ain't making that shit up, man. Tesla update in 2024. Factory Tesla using Chinese solar panels in the Buffalo plant. Factory was built with nearly $1 billion in taxpayer funds, but produced no solar modules. Produced no solar modules. Instead, Elon Musk's company is using a competitor's product. The Tesla factory in South Buffalo, built to manufacture solar panels, today uses solar panels on its roof made by a competitor in China. That's a fact state officials have reluctantly confirmed in response to a Freedom of Information request submitted by Investigative Post. Investigative Post. Officials initially refused, claiming that the identity of the manufacturer was a trade secret, but relented after the appeal filed under the Freedom of Information Act. I'm going to play this.
Our partners at Investigative Post have learned that the solar panels installed on the roof of the massive Tesla facility in South Buffalo were not actually made by Tesla. Instead, they bought them from a Chinese manufacturer. And joining me here in studio is investigative reporter J. Dale Shoemaker. During your reporting, how did you even uncover this?
So the story with this story actually starts about a year ago. We did a big investigation into the type of work that was being done at the Tesla factory. And in the course of that investigation, we learned that the solar roof product, the shiny black shingles that Tesla puts on the roof of a residential house to generate solar power, they were not up to the production standards that Elon Musk had said they would be, that work had faltered, that the company had a lot of issues making that product. And as a result, they had pivoted away from that type of work at the factory to do other things with the facility. In January, I filed another FOIL request with this agency saying, I want to know the name of the manufacturer of these panels. And they denied it. They said, you can't have those documents. That's a trade secret. That would hurt Tesla's business if we told you who made those panels. I thought that was kind of silly, so I appealed, and I won the appeal. When we won the appeal, they finally said, Longi, L-O-N-G-I, they are a Chinese manufacturer. They are the ones who made those panels. The factory was built to produce solar panels and other solar products, and they had to pivot so far away from that even the panels on the roof are no longer Tesla made. Everything is outsourced.
Interesting. Now, this facility was built to produce renewable energy. What does this work mean about that facility now?
Yeah, kind of like I said, like the initial plans, okay, is Andrew Cuomo wanted to bring in a company called Solivo. Solivo had patented a new way of building solar cells, taking the raw materials and building the thing that goes into the panel. And then they were going to make solar panels at this big facility. What we know now is that they have data analysts working there. They're making chargers there. They're doing some work called battery remanufacturing, where if the battery in your Tesla car breaks, it gets sent here to Buffalo and they fix it. So they're doing all sorts of work there, but none of it is solar, which is the original intention of building this factory and spending all of that state money on it.
Very interesting. Back in January, we also found out that Tesla wants to spend $500 million for a supercomputer at the same facility that would be used to power electric cars. Do you think that is going to have any impact on new development?
So that is kind of part and parcel to this pivot away from solar. Those plans did not pan out for Tesla, so now they are really focused on their self-driving car algorithm there. So these data analysts, there's hundreds of them, taking up a very significant part of that factory. They sit at desks and they program this self-driving vehicle algorithm so that the cars don't crash, and they can recognize, like, that's a stop sign, that's a crosswalk, that's a pedestrian, hit the brakes. So this supercomputer is going to feed that work. And so the fact that they are kind of doubling down on that investment shows that they have fully pivoted away from the original intention, that they're really going into the self-driving vehicle work.
So
I just wanted to show you that. I ain't making this shit up. Nearly 300 to be laid off by Tesla. This was just a month after this article came out. Nearly 300 to be laid off by Tesla in Buffalo. So they laid off 300. Wound up being like 346 or something like that they laid off. So I got up back here. I doing this mega deal here. We're doing Tesla. Okay. We were looking up Tesla here, 2014. What kind of a subsidy it was, a mega deal. I think you need to have at least $75 million for it to qualify as a mega deal. Maybe it's $100 million. I don't know. But anyway, so I just wanted to do a little spin-off on that. What the F is a freaking mega deal, right? Well, mega deals, subsidy tracker mega deals. Mega deals are subsidy packages with a value of $50 million or more. I think they've raised it since this. Click on the company name for details of the mega deal. Click on the parent name for an overview of all its subsidy awards. But anyways, you can click on this thing here. Click on this, again, subsidy tracker, and you can go on here. And you can see these are the biggest, this is the mega deal list right here, The value more than $100 million or more, so they changed it right here. The value, they changed it from $50 million to $100 million. But Boeing is right at the top. Micron, that's number 2. That's the next giant freaking project that New York State is just stuffing money into right now. It's nuts. Alcoa, Boeing. You recognize some of these freaking people on these mega deals, right? General Motors, Nike. Look at that, Nike on there. Nucor. You've got Chrysler, big automakers, right? Amazon on the mega deal list of subsidies. Boeing's on there multiple times, as are a lot of these other people. Apple, Ford, right? General Motors, Chrysler, all of them, right? Toyota, Amazon again. Solar City, that's the one we just were. Tesla, Solar City, that's on here. Okay, Amazon again, right? You've got pyramid companies. They made malls. They got a lot of money back in the 90s or 80s, actually, and a lot of the 80s that they got, but they were still getting money. In Syracuse, they put up a lot of funding, man. The Mayo Clinic, look at this, Mayo Clinic, right? Walt Disney. Scripps, here's one of my favorites. Scripps Institute right there. Look how much money they're getting. Back in 2003, they got on the mega deal list. Yeah, they've been on there since 2003. Oh yeah, the Scripps. They're the ones who had all kinds of freaking conflict of interest with, owning patents for vaccine-related technologies when they came out with that studies on promoting asymptomatic spread, and there was like 6 or 7 novel different things that came out that put the whole pandemic on the lockdowns and everything. Yeah, they came out with all them studies that put all those novel things into place. One of the bigger ones was asymptomatic spread. In testing the sewers and testing all that shit. Remember all that stuff came out? Yeah. The Scripps was behind that shit. And then here they had freaking patents, own patents and shit on it, right? But there's Bayer Science, that's Monsanto, right? Goldman Sachs is on there for government subsidies. There you go. That's nice. Cornell University. Oh, yeah, you got to get them in there, right? Honda, but there's all these different I don't know. But Boeing, Micron, and Alcoa, they're the top 3 right there, right? Further down the list were Tesla Motors and Panasonic. Panasonic, they got a bunch of money. And if you remember, it was Tesla's funding, Tesla's subsidies that they used to not buy Panasonic and put Panasonic out of business by buying cheap Chinese shit, right? Trump's man, right? But anyways, the New York State just keeps promising more money for more central planning of economy with the promise of more and more public-private partnerships. That whole Micron deal, right? Micron, they make some kind of freaking super chips or computer chips or some shit. I mean, it's like the biggest thing going right now. Creating more than 9,000. Now they're promising 9,000 good paying company jobs. And thanks to the Green Chips Community Funds investment of $500 million in community and workforce development, Micron is bringing transformative growth to New York State. Not growth, transformative growth, which means government's probably going to own it or be a partner in it, right? Micron Technology. Anyways, Micron's new mega fab will create nearly 50,000 New York jobs. Now they're saying 50,000. Micron's new mega fab will create nearly 50,000 New York jobs, which include 9,000 high-paying company jobs. We'll see where that's at. It's got to be bullshit. New York State's Green Chips program attracting partnerships to create jobs, opportunity, and foster environmental sustainability with up to $10 billion in economic incentives. This is this kind of shit that I'm saying. None of this would exist without government money. Fintel, Micron Technologies, who are the top investors in Micron. So it's like, who owns Micron, right? The largest shareholders include Vanguard Group, BlackRock, State Street. You say anymore. This is where I'm getting at. These aren't companies that are out there that have grown to be where they are in open competition on a free market. This is the public-private partnerships are feeding this, and you have a small handful of companies, literally, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, that own each other, that own everything, and they're involved in this. They're the biggest investors in this. These are the people that own the banks, that own the governments of the world too, right? Extorting the shit out of them. I mean, it's just to show, aluminum. Now, you notice Alcoa was on there, but why subsidize Alcoa's aluminum? They make aluminum, right? See, Alcoa, third on the list. The big aluminum Aluminum is a key material for renewable energy. So you want to know why they're getting all these frickin' subsidies? They've been getting subsidies since 2007, right? Yeah. With its lightweight strength and unmatched corrosion resistance and durability, aluminum is widely used to build renewable energy platforms like solar panels and wind turbines. As the world moves toward the increasingly renewable future, aluminum is helping to lead the way. According to a 2020 study by the World Bank, aluminum is the single most widely used mineral material in solar photovoltaic applications. Photovoltaic. I don't even know what that is. And in fact, the metal accounts for more than 85% of the mineral material demand for solar PV components, from frames to panels. So whatever they are, aluminum makes up 85% of the material, from frames to panels. Subsidy tracker, parent company, Alcoa. Okay, you got the subsidies here, subsidies here. Who are the largest stakeholders in Alcoa? Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock. Right? Same shit. It's the same shit. Same circle of shit. Alcoa reneges on commitments. So this is from 2015. Messina, New York Power Authority President and CEO Gil Quinone said Alcoa reneged on the commitment that they had with New York State Power Authority to receive low-cost hydropower in exchange for maintaining the workforce in Messina, New York. So there you have it. They reneged. They didn't live up to what they got the subsidies for. $10 billion in counting for New York economic subsidies. This is from 2023. New York state and local governments spend $10 billion a year on economic development incentives. What? Hochul's proposal come after the state last fall pledged a state record $6 billion in subsidies to lure a $100 billion investment by Micron near Syracuse. Yeah, $100 billion investment by Micron. Where are they going to get that $100 billion? The billion-dollar debate splitting New York's renewable energy industry. A major wind and solar developer is defecting from industry ranks, arguing that the state shouldn't bail out struggling projects. Now you've got these big companies out there saying that they should. All these companies are all asking for more and more and more money. This is nuts. Yeah, he says in June, alongside two other offshore wind developers, ACE, filed a petition with the state energy regulators seeking to increase the price of energy from dozens of onshore renewable projects awarded contracts between 2017 and 2021. Together, they amount to roughly 80% of the new onshore renewables the state has contracted to date, making up a major pillar of the state's plans to transition off fossil fuels. Each state contract guarantees that the energy from the planned wind solar farm will be bought at a certain price once they're up and running. But ACE says that the projects are no longer viable at the agreed price. States going to control the prices. Interest rates making it more expensive to finance projects and surging global demand for renewables. Rather than renegotiating projects one by one, it wants to apply a single adjustment formula to all 86 projects, which would increase the financial price by anywhere from 43 to 73%. That would add billions more dollars to New York's electric bills, to New Yorkers' electric bills. That's going to be in your electric bill. The same shit. This isn't just going to happen in New York. The same shit's going to happen everywhere. Until the governments have control of everything like China does and their supply line and everything that goes into these factories and everything that people are buying and the price that people are paying for, until they have control of everything, this shit's going to happen. Maybe it's just, oh, we need more control, right? I don't know. Regarding the role of unelected officials doing business as investment development agencies, IDAs, which are public benefit corporations. You've got what they've got now. They've got these investment development agencies, which are unelected groups of people that are going around offering incentives to companies to build solar panels and windmills and shit. How unelected local officials dole out wind and solar tax breaks, county and municipal economic development agencies play a key role in New York's wind and solar build out, but some say it's not their job. Yeah. In the eyes of New York's nascent renewable energy industry, property tax breaks are essential to the feasibility of wind and solar projects. Right. Giving IDAs, which are these investment development agencies, giving IDAs a critical role to play in the green transition. The unelected local economic development bodies wield tremendous authority, according to State Senate. The State Senate doling out more than $1 billion in tax breaks to a wide variety of industries each year. While a growing number have actively sought out renewable projects, others see little reason for providing tax breaks to wind and solar, which create few permanent jobs and are often fiercely opposed by vocal residents and the agricultural industry. Well, the agricultural industry is like freaking, I don't know. You throw the money out there and they're going to come groveling. The state office overseeing these IDAs has also questioned whether renewables should be in their purview. In 2020, just a quarter of wind and solar projects supported by IDAs were expected to create any full-time jobs at all. In Jefferson County, up north in New York State, the legislature passed a resolution preventing the IDA from offering property tax breaks to developers. Why? Something. A little bit of sanity coming out of a county legislator, right? Yeah. Here in New York, here in Cuyahoga County, I just kind of want to touch on that. They actually were able to pass that legislation up there. And then, but here in Cuyahoga County, the best of our Republican-controlled legislature at the time, it was a Republican-controlled legislature, could do was to say, promise that they were going to downsize our government. This is what our legislator did. The Republican-controlled legislator. We had 15 people on the Cuyahoga County legislature at the time. They're going to downsize government by downsizing, by reducing our representation and fighting back against any of these things from 15 representatives in our legislature to 11. Ensuring almost certain Democratic majorities in the legislature compliant with Democratic policies coming out of Albany well into the foreseeable future. These guys, they split those 15, they merged those 15 districts into 11, putting each one of those districts with a heavier and heavier population in the city. So now the Democrats in the heavier populations far outnumber anybody living in any other part of the frickin' county. And the chances of a Republican-controlled legislator is slim to none. And it wouldn't matter anyway because they're all drinking the same Kool-Aid. So politics isn't the answer because they're all drinking the same world socialist Kool-Aid here. New York is reeling from its hot summer battery here. They've had fires. That's one of the other things, some of the issues that they're having with these things. Yeah, I just wanted to show you that. That just happened a couple years ago, 2023. New York's first state-owned utility-scale energy storage system now operational. That is the first state-owned energy storage system. That's what these things are that are catching on fire. Yeah. We kind of got into Micron a little bit there, more than I was going to do anyways. Okay, New York State residents rebel against battery storage plants for wind solar power as going green plays with fire. Kathy Hochul's plans for Empire State to go green are going south as local communities refuse to build massive battery plants that would store wind and solar energy. And that Micron is supposed to be freaking using a shit ton of energy. One upstate town, well, let's see. Yeah, because the town relies on volunteer firefighters and that part of the town lacks access to public water. Critics have said that they are not only a fire hazard, but could spark a blaze that takes longer to extinguish and would spew toxins in the air. Yeah, you can't put these out with water. It just feeds the fire, man. It just feeds the fire. Yeah. The BESS backlash is a blow to the state's plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 and achieve 100% zero carbon emission electricity by 2040 under the Climate Leadership and Community Protections Act of 2019. Massive operation has amounted against 116 megawatt storage sites in the Westchester County, Putnam County line. The town of Carmel and Putnam voted last October to ban lithium battery storage systems. So the towns are fighting back on this stuff. But again, are they going to be able, is New York State just going to step on them? They should be fighting back anyway. You know, if the county legislators would pass legislation, once it's passed, once the county legislation is passed, it's recognized by state law. So I don't know. And I've got this other thing here is that 22 states are sue New York, alleging environmental fund and is unconstitutional. This is just to kind of show you the depravity of New York State government. They're screwing our own people, but they're trying to put the screws to our whole republic too. And they got this Albany. 22 states sued New York State on Thursday. This article came out on February 7th, 2025. Check this shit out. 22 states sued New York State on Thursday, contending that a new law forcing a small group of major energy producers to pay $75 billion into a fund to cover climate change damage is unconstitutional. New York did that. The lawsuit filed in Albany lists State Attorney General Letitia James and other officials as defendants. According to a statement, West Virginia Attorney General J.B. McCuskey led the coalition of states against New York's Climate Change Superfund Act, which requires payments for damages allegedly done from 2000 to 2018. The law requires major fossil fuel companies to pay into the fund over the next quarter century based on their past gas emissions. The law is unconstitutional, and I am proud to lead this coalition of attorneys generals and brave private energy companies and industry groups to fight in our fight to protect against this overreach. Yeah. We look forward to defending this landmark legislation in court and defeating big oil once again. Paul Michel, a spokesman for the Democratic New York State Governor Kathy Hochul's office, said in an email. We look forward to defending this landmark legislation in a court, defeating big oil once again. What a crock. Well, these big oil companies are behind most of these a lot of these solar panels and windmill frickin' farms now. Shell, Exxon, they're all in on it. BP probably too, right? And besides West Virginia, the states joining the lawsuit are Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. Man, somebody step on her, man. She's so arrogant. New York State government is so arrogant. And their push for the world socialism of the United Nations and everything they do. They're pushing the world socialism of the United Nations in this freaking lawsuit. They're pushing the world socialism of the United Nations in the whole DEI, ESG shit that they're pushing. They're pushing the world socialism in the UN force and halt legislations in our law enforcement agencies, in our laws and law enforcement directives in precincts and in our prisons. They don't give a shit. Ruthless agents of world socialist revolution. That's all it is. But then what, right? Once they reach the end of their useful life, and it's shorter than what they're telling us, the electricity generating wind turbines, the blades have to be hacked up and with industrial saws into pieces small enough to fit into a flatbed trailer and hauled into a landfill. I wanted you to see this. This is crazy. Can you see that? Look at that. Those are windmill blades, turbine blades. And that is probably like a D9 or some shit pushing freaking. They're burying these things. They're literally burying these things. They can't recycle them. They can't do nothing with them. That's your green. That's your green economy right there. Solar panel waste crisis predicted to hit sooner than expected. Like we said, there's a pile right there. They don't know what to do with them. There's piles of these things all over the frickin' place. You got lithium mining. A recent study by Ron Dang of the University of New South Wales has unveiled an alarming situation within solar industry. Contrary to previous expectations of a solar panel waste crisis by 2030, a new report predicts its critical point will reach within the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah. That's it right there. Now, lithium mining. This is the other thing with these lithium batteries and lithium mining. Now a strategic geopolitical issue. Okay, look at the size of that mine. America is about to open its first new lithium mine in 12 years in the silver state of Nevada. The Lithium Americas initiative got the nod in the dying days of Trump's years of President Joe Biden has made no moves to stop the development despite his administration's avowed intent to be in the vanguard of the battle against climate change. Now, vanguard in communist, radical, revolutionary communist doctrine, the vanguard is a word that comes straight out of radical communist doctrine. And that is the tip of the spear of the revolution. I shit you not. And this is from 2021, you know. Billions in funding boost lithium mining, stress water supplies. So now, not only do you have money going into all these solar panels and solar panel companies, now they're pushing for the mining of lithium too, right? Right? Look at that shit. It says the Silver Peak Lithium Mine in Clayton Valley, Nevada, photographed in 2023. The mine is the only producing lithium mine in the United States, but more than 100 other sites are under exploration. Mining companies in the U.S. government are investing in increased extraction for lithium, which is a critical component of some renewable energy technologies, especially electric vehicle batteries and the large grid-scale storage batteries that are catching on fire. The IRA injected the Department of Energy Loan Program Office with about $11.7 billion. That's the IRA program coming out of the Biden administration, with about $11.7 billion to support new loans for energy projects, including mines for needed metals like lithium. This builds on earlier bipartisan infrastructure law bill grants for battery material supply chains. The IRA also offers tax credits up to $7,500 on eligible electric vehicles. So there's $7,500 back from the government for buying an electrical vehicle, creating additional demand for lithium by the auto industry. So government subsidies creating the need for more government subsidies, creating the need for more government subsidies. That's what it is. With funding from the IRA, Department of Energy, and BIL, lithium miners have gained new financial vigor and government votes of confidence. Yeah, very right. This is the lithium clay mine is under construction, with most Phase 1 construction costs covered by IRA. Again, General Motors is investing $650 million in exchange for mine's lithium. The U.S. Department of Energy provided a conditional $2.26 billion low-interest loan. Permitting came earlier from President Trump's administration. So you think Trump's going to save you? You think Elon Musk is going to save you from this shit? Think again. You don't think they're drinking the Kool-Aid on this shit? Think again. Yeah. Yeah. In 2028, the Thacker Pass mine is expected to reach full capacity and production in 2028. The Department of Energy said the loan will provide General Motors with enough lithium for 800,000 electric vehicles a year. What? 800,000. Who's going to buy them? How are sales going on that? Yeah, and reinforces the Biden-Harris administration's whole of government approach. USAID, an international solar alliance, joins forces to expand cross-border power grids and advance global energy, renewable energy integration. Oh, I wanted to show you this here. USAID, International Solar Alliances. USAID has been funding solar projects around the world. I don't know if Elon Musk sees them as competition or not. I don't know. But in a significant step toward addressing the global climate crisis, the United States, this is just in December of 2024, USAID and International Solar Alliance have signed memorandum of understanding to promote sustainable energy systems and expand renewable energy adoption globally. Sorry. Excuse me. The partnership, this is the part I want to show you. The partnership aims to develop clean energy transmission networks and enhance energy interconnections across regions such as South Asia, the Persian Gulf, Southeast Asia, and Africa. This initiative supports ISA's flagship program, One Sun, One World, One Grid, which focuses on building a unified global grid to facilitate the large-scale transfer of renewable energy. USAID. Yeah. World socialism. That's what it was. That's what it is. Oh, fighting for mega deal money is what led to fact checkers of the Trusted News Initiative and the super public surveillance state, public-private partnership state, surveillance state. I wanted to just kind of show you these couple things right here, and there's a little bit of a timeline. It started out in 2013 here. If you see right here, 2013, the federal cloud mega deals spur competition and litigation. There was the CIA was involved with this. The U.S. Interior Department has embarked on a major transition to cloud technology that could result in spending $10 billion US on a program over 9 years. This was back in 2013. The move is central to transforming our overall IT capacities, which we expect to result in the benefit of $100 million each year from 2016 to 2020. Central Intelligence Agency. This spring, the Central Intelligence Agency selected Amazon Web Services for a potential $600 million cloud project. As a result, a protest filed by IBM. The CIA decided to revise the procurement, solicit new proposals from both IBM and Amazon Web Service, which is at AWS, from both IBM and Amazon Web Service, and make new award decisions. The AWS, Amazon Web Service, has now asked for the U.S. Court of Federal Findings to essentially prevent the CIA from seeking new proposals and, in effect, proceed with the original decisions. Note, I got here in red, that IBM and Amazon are now, quote-unquote, strategic partners along with the government, Facebook, Microsoft, and Google in all this newly installed AI cloud technology. Let the micromanaging of everybody's everything begin. There's where it starts. Facebook. This is from 2016. Facebook, Amazon, Google, IBM, and Microsoft come together to create partnership on AI. IBM signed strategic collaboration agreement with Amazon Web Services to deliver IBM software as a service on AWS, Amazon Web Service, building an IBM software being available as a service on IBM Cloud. This first of its kind agreement between IBM and Amazon Web Service will provide clients with access to IBM software that runs cloud native and on Amazon Web Service. Anyways, that was from 2022. So you got, Facebook, Amazon, Google, IBM, everybody that was involved with the Trusted News Initiative, right? Everybody that was involved with all the fact checkers during COVID, right? Right? All the social media take over everything. But let me see. I got one other couple of things I wanted to show you here really quick. I wanted to show you a couple of these here. Yeah. I wanted to show you these windmills are catching on fire. They're crazy. It's just crazy on what's going on. I guess I can't get that. They had a couple guys. I don't know if you can see that here. I can't see. They have a couple guys on top of one of these. That got caught. There was 4 guys caught up on top of one of these giant windmills. 2 of them got down somehow, and the other 2 just they didn't make it. That's it right there. You can see the guys right there. 2 guys. Says they're sharing a hug, a last hug before they jumped. This is the kind of shit they don't tell you what happens. You know what I mean? And they blow down, they get on the wind, they blow down, and they're just, you know, this is another thing here. Well, they had a windmill that started a 2,000 acre grass fire in California, in Oregon. That's what it is, in Oregon. For some reason, that's not coming in. And then there's this place here, when I was telling you about all these mirrors, and they got this, they focus in the front. The mirrors aren't doing, this has gone out of business. This $2 billion solar farm just failed. You won't believe why. And the reason why is because solar panels are cheap. So having an argument against this, they turn it into an argument for more solar farms because the solar panels are cheap now. Yeah, these guys go bankrupt, but because solar panels are cheap, that's why they went bankrupt, and it's the reason why we need more solar farms. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. Anyways, I put some of this stuff together for you. I hope you got something out of it for your consideration. I just want to tie these things together, that all this freaking world socialism that's being pushed in all these different categories and all these different other areas, whether it's in the medical freedom movement, pushing the COVID narrative, pushing the central narrative. It's all One Health, DEI, ESG. It's being pushed through all these windmills and everything, and being pushed upstream and through the supply chains. And it's all the same. The world, the whole Agenda 2030, 2050, Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, world, the HALT legislation going into our prisons that our New York State Corrections officers have been trying to push back against. I heard there's an agreement out there. I don't know. Their own union has been throwing them under the bus, making deals on the state on the side. They don't represent the officers. That union ain't long to be around, I can tell you. I don't think, anyways. But anyways, I hope you got something out of it. It's all the same freaking scam. It's all the same world socialism that's being pushed in all these different things. It's all the same collectivism. And it's coming at the expense of our individual rights and liberty. It's coming at the expense of our Constitution. It's coming at the expense of our republic. And it's coming at the expense of our children and grandchildren, and the possibility of them even being able to pursue an independent happiness of their own. This is where I'm at. Again, thanks for stopping by the Liberty Perspective, and I hope to see you in the next show. Thanks. Bye.